Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on a Tuesday. Happy Valentine's Day out there to all who celebrate. I think most celebrate. Some refuse. Talked about it yesterday. I have purchased a card. That'll be about the extent of it for those that were worried. Hope your day is going very, very well. A lot to get to over the next couple of hours. Glenn West in his normal spot at 1:30, talking Tigers. We'll talk a little bit about the basketball game tonight, as well as his thoughts on this baseball team as they crank things up on Friday. Saints potentially interested in Baker Mayfield. Talk about that in hour number 2. Jordan D. Hill is going to join us in hour number 2 as well. He covers the Georgia Bulldogs. Want to talk basketball with him, but also, if you missed the news earlier today, Todd Monken, Georgia offensive coordinator, has taken the job with the Baltimore Ravens. And about 36 seconds after that was made official, Mike Bobo was brought in as the official offensive coordinator at Georgia. So a very small fraternity of coaches they're working with over there. But Kirby's tabbed his man, so we'll get Jordan's thoughts on some football things as well in the second hour. Sharif Ishak on the Pels at 2:30. Locked and loaded here. Glad you're with us on a Tuesday. I want to start today not with LSU basketball in Athens. I want to start with the news that broke yesterday on LSU baseball a couple of hours after we went off the air. And that, unfortunately, was the news of Grant Taylor having a torn UCL. He's going to have Tommy John surgery. He will miss this season. And it's a big deal. It's not crippling. It's not a backbreaker. It's not the death knell. It's just a big deal. Grant Taylor was going to have a huge role on this LSU pitching staff. I don't know if it was Saturday starter. I don't know if it was long relief person. I don't know if it was bona fide closer. I don't know exactly what Grant Taylor's role was going to be, but it was going to be a big one. Grant Taylor, if you just watch him pitch, you understand that the stuff is unbelievable. It's 96, 97 miles an hour with a fastball. He has a good breaking ball. He was a nice piece to LSU's bullpen last year as a freshman. He had 39 strikeouts in 31 innings as a freshman. But he allowed a run in 13 of 17 outings, and I think he got a little bit tired towards the end of last year. He walked 10 guys in his last 5 innings. Again, the stuff seemed okay. The command was well off. He came back in the fall and was phenomenal. Absolutely lights out, and was very, very good early in 2023 as well as they started up practice. And what stood out to me in the conversations that I had with some people in talking about Grant and the pitching staff and how things were going to work, they just loved his ability to miss bats. His strikeout potential is up there with the best on the team. And that really plays in the bullpen, but certainly could be stretched out to a starting pitcher as well. He was going to be one of those two things. Very, very vital to this team. I would say a top 4 trusted arm on the staff, Grant Taylor was. And you now no longer have him. So what does it mean? Here's what I gather. When I came on here and gave you what things looked like in early January, that was what I had heard. But when I told you that I thought as of January 10th, 12th, 14th or so, that Paul Skeens was Friday, Ty Floyd was Saturday, Thatcher Hurd was Sunday, that's how things looked to be slated out, that was good information. But the caveat that came with that was, but we'll see over the next 4 or 5 weeks. And over the next 4 or 5 weeks, which we're now there, we've gone through 4 or 5 weeks, things have changed. Obviously, Grant Taylor has gone down. They've played a lot of scrimmages. Some guys have looked great. Some guys have looked shaky. Some guys' arms are sore. Some guys are ready to rock and roll. The calculus has changed on all this because of all the variables involved. So I still believe Paul Skeens is your Friday night guy. That'll be announced very likely tomorrow, I think is the indication, maybe on Thursday. Jay likes to get the opposing team starting pitchers at the same time he releases his. He does believe there is an advantage in knowing who the other team is going to pitch before they know who you're going to pitch. That's just the way he operates. But Skeens is going to go on Friday. What happens on Saturday and Sunday? And I'll tell you, there's a little buzz. This is speculation on my part, not speaking with any sources, not any inside information. This is some speculation on my part based on some things that I know and kind of the ability at this point in the year to throw some things against the wall. I think Thatcher Hurd is going to start one of the games this weekend. That's a thought that I have. This one is more speculation. I think it's very possible that LSU starts Riley Cooper in a game this weekend. Riley Cooper started a game this past weekend. Jay Johnson absolutely trusts him. And again, this is not inside information that I'm getting from LSU. They're going to keep that close to the vest until it's time to go play a game. This is speculation from someone who talks about the team for a living. I think Riley Cooper's got a chance to slide into a weekend starting spot to start things. Now, what did I say yesterday about opening night? I gave you the example of 2009, the opening night DH was Chad Jones. He didn't take an at-bat the last 10 weeks of the season and became a pitcher. So opening weekend is just that. It's opening weekend. And I think Riley Cooper has impressed. We know that he's got a rubber arm. We know that he can extend and give you multiple innings. It's not the way at all I thought this was going to go as of a week ago or as of obviously 5 weeks ago when I started talking about this team on a more regular basis. But I think it's possible. I think it's possible that Ty Floyd starts a weekend game. I mentioned Thatcher Hurd. I think it's possible that Christian Little or Bryce Collins starts a game. But I think right now, if you made me bet, Skeens on Friday, that's been announced. We already know that. I think Cooper and Hurd are the next two. That's speculation. That's what I think. And when I speculate, I can just start kind of running through scenarios in my head or reasons, rationale why, as to what kind of makes sense as I understand the composition of this roster. Well, last year, basically when Javen Coleman went down, Riley Cooper was your only real lefty you trusted. Jacob Hasty went out there a little bit, but it was hit or miss with him. The stuff's really good. The spin rate's great, but every once in a while he would get knocked around and couldn't find the strike zone. Cooper was kind of the only guy out of the bullpen you trusted as a lefty. Perhaps the fact that the staff likes Nate Ackenhausen, JUCO lefty transfer, and has some real optimism about the future of Griffin Herring, who's also left-handed, and it's thrown DJ Primo out there a little bit, but I think the other two, in my opinion, first. Maybe the fact that you think you already have two left-handed guys that you trust in the bullpen, and the potential that Javen Coleman could come back 6-7 weeks in. That's tough to bank on. Feels like the Jake Latz thing again, but if you feel like he could come back and help, now you don't necessarily need the matchup lefty on Friday or need the matchup lefty on Saturday. And Cooper, if you think he's one of your better arms and you'd rather get him a start in the weekend to utilize his skill set best, maybe it's easier to pull the trigger on that. It's fun to speculate, and that's what this first 4 weeks is going to be about. As far as Taylor going out and my thought that he could be a closer, could have been a weekend guy, could be a whatever, I start to look some other places for potential closers. Now, I should say this, that I think it's more likely that multiple guys get the last out of games a good bit during this LSU baseball season because they've got a lot of guys they trust. But I start to look at Chase Shores, I start to look at Christian Little, and I certainly start to look at Bryce Collins as some guys that the staff understands have really good stuff, all mid-90s to upper 90s fastballs, all good breaking pitches. Little and Collins have a lot of college experience. Shores is nails, and you heard me say that I think he's going to win a weekend rotation spot at some point. But those guys come to top of mind as guys who could be used to get big outs late in games or the last 3 outs, as it were. Again, this Grant Taylor injury is a big deal. It is not crippling because the depth they have accumulated on this pitching staff with Skeens and Hurd and Floyd and Shores and Little and Collins and Cooper and Ackenhausen and Garrett Edwards and Blake Money and Griffin Herring and Sam Dutton and Will Helmers. The list goes on. They've got 13, 14, 15 guys who have the potential to help you. That just simply was not the case last year. I haven't even talked about Garrett Edwards in this deal. Musso's a little higher on Garrett Edwards than I am, but his stuff looks pretty good in spring practice. Maybe he's the guy that slots into the back of the bullpen. And all these dominoes you keep stacking up on the back end allow you to maybe move a Riley Cooper up to the front. That's just speculation, and I think Jay will make an announcement either tomorrow on Wednesday or on Thursday, and we'll kind of talk about that as it moves forward. But the injury is a big deal. It's not crippling. It just moves some things around. And if we were 4 weeks into the season and I knew how things set up exactly, I could give you a more concrete look on the way that I thought things shook out. We don't have that. I don't know where Grant Taylor was going to pitch. I think he was going to pitch second on Friday. I think Skeens was going to come out there and give you 5, and I think they were going to give it to Taylor and let him go and see how far he could go. That's a guess, but I think that's where things were trending. When you went out for Friday scrimmages the last 2 weeks, Taylor started for one team and Skeens started for another. That told me it felt like they were both going to go on Friday. But that's speculation. So we'll see. Nice to have options. Not necessarily the case last year. It is this year. You hope that Grant Taylor goes under the knife, everything goes great, and you can see him, if not at the beginning of next year, middle of next year, like we're kind of talking about Javen Coleman right now. The ability of doctors and the medical staff and the surgical procedures and the rehab is unbelievable, and hopefully Grant Taylor will be back next year and can really help this team. But in any event, this team that they're going to have to put out there this year, it's going to have to move on without him, and that is certainly a bummer. Glenn West is going to be with us at 1:30. I'll get his thoughts on what he thinks of the weekend rotation. He's been out and saw a lot of scrimmages, so he'll be with us. Jordan D. Hill and Sharif Ishak in hour number 2. When we come back, I'll prep you on LSU and Georgia basketball tonight. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets. Check out the website, onebathandclosets.com. How much better would your living situation be if you had a gorgeous, new, functional closet? Some of us got suits. You got shoes all over the place. There's a suitcase here and there. Can't find things. You're using a cell phone flashlight because you're trying not to wake somebody up. Don't do that. Let David Duvall and his team come in and put you in a new closet. And if you tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you, they're not going to charge you to rip out your current closet. They're not going to charge you for the labor to install the new one. They're just going to charge you for the cost of the unit. Maybe you need a whole full-scale renovation of your closet. Maybe you just need to better use your current space. Let him do that. He'll come in, he'll put a questionnaire in front of you, he'll understand what you have, what kind of space requirements you have, and what you need. And he'll put it together for you. Free consultation. And on the bathroom side, tell you about it each and every day. Tub to shower conversions in your bathroom could totally open the place up and give it a modern look. Or maybe you need a full-scale bathroom renovation. They can do that too. It's just one call to One Bath and Closets. Check out that website again, onebathandclosets.com, onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
We get it done with strength,
commitment,
dedication,
grit.
Let's go, defense!
We get it done with passion for our fans
and love for our community. We are
the Tigers.
Get it done.
Let the values of the purple and gold be in your starting lineup this season. And as always, get it done.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Women who suffer from cardiac arrest outside of a hospital are less likely than men to receive life-saving CPR from bystanders. Be the beat for your community. Go to heart.org to take the CPR challenge and save lives.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job
Hudco can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call Hudco Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls Bands and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting. With a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne, plus two-time PBR world champion Chris Shivers, and Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th, Lamar Dixon. Dealer in Louisiana.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $8,500 off new 2022 Ram 1500s. New 2022 Ram 1500 trucks on our lot now with $8,500 off MSRP. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right. Bayou.
Charles Hannigrove, join us for the Wednesday edition of Hanny Time. Scott Rabelais from The Advocate joins us as we continue our countdown to LSU baseball. In first class, second class, no class. Hanny Time, noon weekdays, 104.5, ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Tigers tonight, 7:30 in Athens, Georgia, taking on Mike White's Georgia Bulldogs. Unless you're trying to snap an 11-game losing streak, we shall see. Give you a quick thumbnail on the Dogs for tonight before we get to Glen West. Georgia's 15-10 this year. They're 5-7 in league play. 12-2 at Stegman Coliseum, where this game will be played. This year, it's a couple of nice wins. They beat Auburn in Athens by 12. By 7 over the weekend. And, you know, a couple of ugly losses. The Ole Miss loss is an ugly one. Tennessee beat them by 29, which is not great. A&M beat them by 25. So it's a mediocre SEC basketball team. Third in the country in offensive efficiency. In shooting percentage, 8. They don't shoot it great, but there are some statistics. You know what the goal is for this Georgia team. In terms of the percentage of points they get from free throws, they're 10th in the country. Free throw attempts per game, they're 29th in the country. And their assists per possession is 266. So what that tells me, not a lot of catch and shoot going on with Georgia. It's a lot of driving, which gets you to the line and doesn't create a lot of assists. They are an aggressive driving basketball. 17th in defensive efficiency. Nothing of note in terms of blocks or steal rate or anything like that. They're fine. Mike White is a good basketball coach. I continue to say that. It just didn't work at Florida. They had the one good run his first year when you're taking over for Donovan, and you had a pretty good club. And then the recruiting didn't look terrible. You would look at their roster and go, okay, that's a pretty good point guard. You got a little talent on the wings there. Okay, you bring in a big like Castleton, and they never just got it going in Gainesville. I'm not exactly sure why. One of the things that impresses me the most about Mike White is their baseline out of bounds plays and sideline out of bounds plays. He's very, very good at the special teams part of the game and creating some good looks for his team. So we'll see what that holds tonight for LSU and Georgia. From a personnel perspective, Terry Roberts is Georgia's best player. He transferred from Bradley, was a really good scorer there. He's been in double figures 18 of 22 games, and he leads them in assists. However, the last 2 games, he hasn't been in double figures, and he came off the bench in the Kentucky game because he's been dealing with concussion issues. So we'll talk with Jordan D. Hill coming up in the second hour about what things look like for Roberts. But I'm just going to assume he's going to be full strength and play. He's a 6'3", 180-pound senior guard, 15 points per game. I mentioned assist leader. Not a great shooter, 31%. And this is a theme with Georgia. 31% for Roberts, 30% for Hall, 27% for McKendo. They don't have good three-point shooters. Somehow, some way, from some stroke of misfortune plus some poor basketball, LSU has allowed just about everybody to settle right in and just start bombing threes in. Bombing threes in on Saturday night. When I sit down at A&M, is what, 6 of 9 in the first half? Missouri could not miss from 3. We know what happened in Tuscaloosa with Alabama. For some reason, teams just show up and it just starts dropping. And if it happens, and if teams do that to LSU, if you show up and just start canning threes, LSU can't keep up. They're not going to be able to score enough. Plain and simple. But maybe some of these teams that suck at shooting will be terribly in shooting against LSU. That would be nice if it happened tonight. Georgia's awful at shooting the basketball. How about you shoot a poor percentage tonight? I know. You got to defend them. You got to get a hand in their face. You got to rebound. I know all the stuff. I'm just asking for some poor shots. That's all I'm asking for. So Roberts is the lead guy. Justin Hill's our point guard. He's a junior, 7 points a game. The other guy that you got to deal with is Kario Kendo, 6'4", 220-pound junior, 13 points per game. Not a good shooter, surprise, surprise, but he will dribble. So it's Kario Kendo and Terry Roberts. Those two guys make Georgia go. They're the guards. They're a solid guard combo in the league. They're old. They drive. They can score at the rim, and they get to the free throw line and make a lot of free throws. Those two guys LSU's got to deal with. There's not a ton of offense coming from the posts. Jusson Holt is a 6'7" sophomore, has not scored in double figures all year. Matthew Alexander Moncrief, 6'8", 215, 6 points per game. Hadn't attempted a three all year. Everything he does is in the paint. And then Braylon Bridges, the holdover from the previous staff. He was a Tom Crean player. He started every game for them last year. He's 6'11", 8 points, 4 rebounds per game. But none of the posts are huge threats. The guards do the damage, and they do it off the bounce. Excuse me. So LSU's got to do a good job on perimeter defense, and they got to go rebound. Georgia's pretty long. 6'7", 6'8", 6'11" in the starting lineup. And Roberts at 6'3" is pretty long as a guard as well. I use this word almost every time I talk about an LSU basketball game. Almost every time. I'm just going to hope Georgia shoots it really poorly. And if they do, and LSU can get some rebounds, you can stay in a tight game late. You're going to have to make some shots. You're going to have to play offensively the way you did in the second half on Saturday. If you play like you did in the first half, you'll get dusted. But Matt McMahon was so flustered. Well, I don't know if flustered is the right word. He was so disappointed, I guess, in the way LSU came out on Saturday. And obviously, that goes without saying. What was the score? 27-4 or something? And he said, I just don't understand how you can come out and not have the effort and the energy. And then he went on to say, like, it's on me. I got to get the guys ready, and I failed tonight. He went as far as to say that. I don't know if their energy was terrible. I mean, is your energy terrible when you throw the ball down to the rim and you've got a 6'10" junior player down there in Derek Fountain who misses an uncontested layup? Is that bad energy? Bad effort? You got to make it from a foot. It's a foot. You're 6'10". Maybe you can say on defense they didn't come out playing great or hard. But I just want something early in games to go right for these guys. I realize the Alabama game, they did stick with them early, and then it kind of got away in the second half, as you'd expect. But, again, I think there are games on the SEC slate that are winnable. Don't laugh at me. There are games that are winnable. Tonight is winnable. I don't like their chances. This feels a little bit like the game on Saturday against A&M, where I said, look, A&M's better, and they're playing a lot better. I don't like LSU's chances. But A&M's no world beater either. they were atrocious in December, and they can play poor basketball. They can certainly shoot it poorly. But you were up against it there. Nice run in the second half, but you were up against it. This Georgia team is not very talented. Roberts is good, Okendo's good, and Bridges is a big guy, but the rest of the team's not very talented. There's a reason teams have run them off the floor in SEC play. 29 to Tennessee, 19 by Auburn, 25 against A&M. Kentucky beat them by 14. But they've also won some games because they can play off the bounce. So for LSU tonight, I don't love their odds, but it's one of the lesser teams in the league. And we talked for 2 months about how daunting the front end of the schedule is. That's over. The front end of the schedule's over. You've gotten through it. It was awful, as bad as it could have been, but you're done with it. And this is a breath of, I kept saying, you can come up for air for the last 7. You can come up for air now. You've got sacks of concrete on your shoes, and you've been down at the depths of the ocean, but you can come up for air now. There's no reason LSU cannot play with Georgia tonight. Lose it by 7, it is what it is. Lose it by 26, that's unacceptable. Georgia's not that good. So we'll see what LSU shows up tonight. Hopefully you see the freshmen out there a little bit more, getting some time on the road. Hopefully they make some shots, and maybe Georgia misses some. Sometimes it seems like the other team just can't. I would sincerely hope that is the case. Yesterday I was supposed to do this little read and forgot, so let's do it today, and we'll put it in the rearview mirror. I want to send out congratulations to Donald Ewing of Jackson, Louisiana. Don's our local winner in the 104.5 ESPN Big Game Contest presented by Heineken Silver. Donald won $3,835 in cash. So thanks to all who participated in the Big Game Contest presented by Heineken Silver. All right, we'll take a timeout. Glenn West is going to join us coming up next from Go 247. Glenn covers the basketball team. We'll briefly talk about that. Get his thoughts on the baseball opener coming up on Friday as well. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford. Inventory is always there. BayouFord.com. Great search bar and drop-down list with the inventory. You can search the year, the make, the model, all that right there on the front page. And I'll tell you a little bit lower on the front page, don't settle. Don't settle, because when you search for what you're looking for at Bayou Ford, whether it's the F-150, whether it's a Mustang, Bronco, Explorer, Expedition, they don't have what you want. They'll customize a vehicle for you. That's the new way of car buying. Why not get exactly what you want? It's a pretty big investment. Bayou Ford will help you do it, and they'll turn around your vehicle in 60 to 90 days. They'll deliver it right to your home, the Bayou to you guarantee. They'll bring it right there with all the paperwork. You sign it, get on your way. And hey, a little added bonus, they'll buy your car from you. Got a great buyback program over there at Bayou Ford as well. Every new purchase from Bayou Ford comes with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. 1 million miles for the life of that vehicle. You'll have it under the warranty. Check out the inventory. It changes daily at BayouFord.com. The website again, BayouFord.com. Bayou Ford, where they're going to do right by you.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $8,500 off new 2022 Ram 1500s. New 2022 Ram 1500 trucks on our lot now with $8,500 off MSRP. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Musso. Join me Monday through Friday for your daily update on LSU baseball with Musso at the Box, presented by New Orleans Flooring. Wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, and check out New Orleans Flooring. 2 locations, Metairie and Prairieville, or NOLAFlooring.com.
Start your day with news and newsmakers. Start your day with traffic, weather, and local stories that are important to you. Kickstart your day every day. Mornings with Brian Haldane from 6 to 9 a.m. Weekdays on Talk 107.3.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls Bands and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting. With a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR. LSU pitcher Grant Taylor out for the season. How do they compensate? We'll preview LSU, Georgia, and hoops and recap Pell's Thunder. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I'm headed home on Saturday. Went out to the PMAC, enjoyed a little basketball, even though LSU got smoked. And headed home, I get a text message on my phone, kindly worded text message from one Glenn West that suggested politely that perhaps in his Tuesday segment we talk a little baseball as opposed to basketball. We welcome Glenn West in on the Jim's Firearm Hotline. Glenn, huge matchup in Stegman tonight. Tigers and Bulldogs. What's the key to the victory?
No comment. No, I think the biggest thing that they got to do obviously is score more efficiently. You know, I think they saw the blueprint in that second half against A&M. Yes, they ended up losing the game, but they were putting the ball in the basket. I think they shot over 50% from the field, over 50% from three. They kind of clawed their way back into that game a little bit more than I anticipated. I mean, they were down by nearly 30 points in that game, and they cut it to 6 or 8 by game's end. So I think you kind of saw a little bit of the blueprint of how they can do it, but until they can start scoring more efficiently for longer stretches and avoid those long scoring droughts, you got to just wait to believe it when you see it. So I think that's probably my biggest basketball take for tonight.
I was a little surprised in the postgame when Matt McMahon said he didn't understand how you could not come out with energy and effort. And I don't know that I necessarily think it's energy and effort at times with this team. I think sometimes they just get beat.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I think sometimes, he kind of alluded to this in the postgame presser, but they missed a couple easy shots. Derek Fountain missed a point-blank layup in that first half and missed a couple open threes. And I think, when you're in this kind of funk like they are, even the slightest bit of just, not converting or not making the shots that you think you should can certainly hurt your confidence. And I think they let it affect themselves on the defensive end. And certainly their lack of confidence in their shooting was evident in that first half when they only scored 2 points in the first 10 or 11 minutes of that game. That'll cost you against a team like A&M or really any team that's in this conference. So you definitely can't. You have to avoid those kinds of scoring stretches and or lack of scoring stretches, I should say. And I think they figured it out to some degree in the second half, and we'll see if they can translate that into a full game effort here tonight.
LSU baseball may not need it 10 minutes to score 2 on Friday. We'll just have to see. But we'll start with the pitching side of things. Your reaction to the news yesterday that Grant Taylor is out for the year.
Yeah, it's just really unfortunate. I mean, you kind of had a feeling it might be coming to this when he walked off in the scrimmage this weekend. Very abrupt ending, and that's kind of the death sign for pitchers when that kind of happens to them. So, really unfortunate. I think he was obviously going to be a huge part of this rotation this year, whether it was as a starter or as a key contributor out of the bullpen. One of the most improved players on the roster from everything we'd heard this offseason. So that's not a guy you easily replace. But I think the one thing that LSU has shown in the fall and in the spring scrimmages so far is that they have a pretty deep pitching staff. And I think they'll be able to, cobble together a bunch of guys who will be able to help and still thrive as a pitching staff. So it's a tough loss of Grant Taylor, but I think you still got a lot of options there to be creative and still have a really good season on the mound.
As far as the press conferences and speaking engagements Jay Johnson has done, unless I'm missing something, I think the only thing that's cemented here is that Paul Skeens is going to start on Friday. If you had to say not definitively, but assertively, anyone else on the staff, this is what their role is going to be, where would you go next?
So I would probably pigeonhole Bryce Collins into a closer role. They've been kind of gearing him up for that, it looks like, through some of these scrimmages. But, with the loss of Taylor, you could easily see Bryce Collins getting a shot at a start or a midweek start here to early in the season. But I would say Bryce Collins is certainly a guy that I think they have a lot of trust in to close games. I think he's going to be a really valuable piece out of the bullpen for them. But outside of that, I don't really feel strongly about who they could be looking at in terms of the weekend starters. I think they have a group of players that they feel very confident in, whether it's Thatcher Hurd or Christian Little or Chase Shores, Ty Floyd. I think there's a number of routes they could go, and they might kind of split it up and try something different next weekend. So you never really know, but I think that there's a lot of options for sure.
Give me your best guess on Saturday and Sunday starters.
Yeah, I think probably Thatcher Hurd is probably going to get one of those two starts, and then I'm going to go with Chase Shores. I've just been super impressed by what he's done. I think he's looked as good as any pitcher in the scrimmages that I've seen this year or in this spring, and I think he's going to have a huge role in this team, and I could absolutely see him being a starter this weekend.
It'll be interesting. Matthew Musso and I did an hour-long roster breakdown that you can find on the Watch 104.5 ESPN YouTube stream, and both of us saluted the fact that we think he will eventually become a weekend starter on this team. I don't know if it's the first weekend. I don't know if it's April. I don't know if it's May, but I think at some point Chase Shore's talent is going to take over, and they're going to have him in there. I think Christian Little is an interesting name that's been tossed about. Your thoughts on his progression here and where he fits in on the pitching staff?
Yeah, so I think there's been some good and some bad. I think he was I think they were messing with some stuff mechanically for him back in the fall, and so maybe he was a little bit inconsistent, and I think that's kind of translated into the spring. But he's had some really dominant innings. It's just it does seem to be that there's one inning where he maybe walks a couple guys or gets hit on a little bit, and so you don't really know if he's going to be a starter for the whole season. I think he's probably going to be a guy that's really heavily utilized out of the bullpen and will get a spot start here and there. But, I really like it. I think he's a guy that's a veteran. He's been around the SEC now for a couple of years. You need those kinds of guys who know what to expect in those kinds of environments, and I think he's going to be a huge part of the staff this year.
How much do you think Paul Skeens is going to hit?
I would probably envision not much early in the season. I think they probably want him to focus on the mound more than anything, but I do think they'll kind of work him in as the season grows. But I think the biggest thing right now that they're trying to figure out, and I'm sure you've heard similar stuff, is just the plan in terms of scheduling and how much they want him to hit around his pitching days. So, I'm not entirely sure how much he'll hit this weekend. He might get a pinch hit or two, but outside of him starting on the mound on Friday, I'm not sure you could really pencil him in as a starter in that DH spot because, I do think they also have some really good at-bats in Jared Jones and a number of other guys who could fill that role really, really well.
Offensively, where's the first thing that's going to grab your attention?
Yeah, just I would probably say what the order looks like after those top 3 or 4, how they kind of mix in the left and right-handed batters. I mean, you know what you're going to get out of Dylan Cruz, out of Trey Morgan, and I'm going to be interested to see what Tommy White looks like and what who's backing him up, who he's backing up, that kind of thing. But I don't think there's going to be any sense that this team won't be able to score this weekend. I think it'll be a fun environment, a fun first weekend in the box, and I know that a lot of fans have been really, really excited to see this team.
Last one here, Glenn. We appreciate your time a ton. Your thoughts on who we see at catcher this weekend?
I would probably say Milazzo to start. I mean, Brady Neal will probably get some innings, as the weekend progresses. I don't think you want to throw Milazzo right into the fire of 27 innings on the weekend. But I would be surprised if Milazzo doesn't start on Friday, for example. I think he's just a really useful defensive tool. I mean, he's just an elite defensive catcher. He saves you out. He gets guys out. And I think he's going to be a guy that Johnson and his coaching staff obviously trust, and a lot of these pitchers trust as well.
We'll see you at the box this weekend, Glenn. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely, Hunt. Thank you.
He's Glenn West, Go247 senior writer covering LSU basketball, baseball, and football. All your recruiting and team coverage, Glenn and the crew got you over there to Go247. I want to circle back to something there about Paul Skeens. This is some conversation that I had with someone inside the program about offensively what things could look like with Skeens. And the sentiment was if Skeens just never pitched and he just played first base and hit, he would hit 20 homers this year. And that's a lot of home runs. That's what they think would happen. Obviously, the emphasis is going to be on him pitching. And because he's such a vital piece to this team as the ace of the staff, anything that he's doing on the field that's not pitching, one, saps energy, mental focus, and attention, and far more importantly, I think, creates the potential for injury. This is a conversation I had where they think about things so minute over there that they don't even really know if they're going to let Skeens hit a ton against right-handed pitchers. Why? Because Skeens hits right-handed, and right-handed pitchers' ball runs inside on right-handers, and his fingers and hands are in there, and they don't want hit by pitches on the fingers and hands. They also are not super wild about Paul Skeens out there running the bases, where you can roll an ankle and jam a knee and break a finger if you slide head first. All of a sudden, he's leading off first base. He's your ace. And there's a snap throw behind him by the catcher, and he's got to dive in head first into a first baseman's cleats and a tag flying down and the ball coming down there at 85 miles an hour. They don't love that. So, yeah, there's some value in his offensive ability. However, is the risk worth the reward? I would say no. If you had a team that could not score offensively, they were so impotent and they could not get anything going, and you were losing games 3-0 and 2-1 all the time, okay, we may need a guy in there that can hit some home runs. However, that's not the case here. And I think the absolute eruption of Jared Jones over the last 2 weeks very likely quells some of the need for Skeens to be in there as a power right-handed bat. If you face a pretty average left-handed SEC number 3 or midweek number 3 that's left-handed, yeah, sure, put Skeens in the 6 hole. Give him 2 at-bats. Great. Have some fun. Glad you're here. We want you focused for Friday, but hey, come out of your shoes a couple times. We'll pinch hit for you in the 6th. Fine. What you're not going to see a ton of, I don't think, is Paul Skeens hitting 4th on Saturday and Sunday. That's just not, there's too much risk. You can't have Skeens out there taking swings against SEC number 2s that are right-handed, throwing 2-seamers, running at 95 at his fingers. That's not acceptable. So, I see Jeff G in here. Risk first reward. Ask the Angels about Ohtani. Yeah, that's working out great for them. They always make the playoffs. No, that's a reasonable take. But it's not necessary. It's just not. Shohei Ohtani is maybe the most talented baseball player who's ever lived. And he's great at what he does, but it creates a lot of issues, and the risk is still there. And LSU's not willing to take on that risk for Skeens at this point. So that's just my thoughts. That's one of those deals. Like the first segment I gave you, which was here's my speculation on what I think and why I tossed Riley Cooper's name out there to start a weekend game. That's speculation on my part. This part about Skeens, they have thought this through. I had a conversation with a couple of people that have been privy to these conversations, and it's not going to be an every weekend type deal potentially. We'll see. But he's going to be a heck of a Friday night guy, so that's good news. All right, we'll come back, get you ready for SEC basketball tonight. Loaded second hour. Going to talk about Baker Mayfield and whether or not that makes sense for the Saints. Then Jordan D. Hill is going to join us to talk Georgia Bulldogs. They have now 2 new coordinators that we'll have to talk about. And they also are, just one, a new coordinator, an offensive coordinator we'll talk about. And the basketball game tonight, Sharif Ishak talking Pels at 2:30. Come back with us on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
We get it done with strength,
Commitment.
dedication.
Great.
We get it done with passion for our fans.
And love for our community. We are the Tigers.
Get it done.
Let the values of the purple and gold be in your starting lineup this season. And as always, get it done.
Bayou Ford has $4,000 off MSRP plus $1,000 Ford credit cash on new 22 Ford F-150 XLT trucks. That's $5,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Women who suffer from cardiac arrest outside of a hospital are less likely than men to receive life-saving CPR from bystanders. This is especially true for Black and Latino women. Be the one in your family to help change this statistic by taking the American Heart Association's challenge to learn CPR. Be the beat for someone you love. You can make a difference when it matters most. Go to heart.org today to take the CPR challenge and save lives.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls Bands and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting. With a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne, plus two-time PBR world champion Chris Shivers, and Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th, Lamar Dixon Expo Center at 7 p.m. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet, the #1 Chevrolet dealer in Louisiana.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Jimmy Odd and Mike Delicano for the Tuesday evening edition of Game Time, presented by Bet Rivers. We're at Mike Anderson's on Lee, just off of Nicholson. That's Game Time, presented by Bet Rivers, 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The haters and the faders have got to be furious right now with this insane gambling hot streak I'm on. 2 weeks ago, on Tuesday, went 2-2. Last week, on Tuesday, went 2-2. That's warm at the very least, right at 500. And then the Super Bowl, I just blew the doors off it. 4 out of 5 on my picks for the show. This is a heater the likes of which the Hunt Palmer Show has never seen. So while the haters and the faders attempt to get loans out from the bank and have to fight off the foreclosers from taking their trucks and their homes, we keep rolling with picks here. Right? Tonight, SEC hardwood action. Vanderbilt in South Carolina. In Columbia, 5:30 tip, SEC Network. Vanderbilt playing well. Big win over the Vols last week. Scoring some points. They're 5-point favorites. South Carolina is atrocious. You lay the 5. You don't like to take road favorites. I know home dogs are everybody's favorite. No. South Carolina, atrocious. Vanderbilt, not atrocious right now. We go with the not atrocious team. We take the doors. We lay the 5 points. Missouri is at Auburn. Battle of the Tigers. Neville Arena. I'm not doing Neville Arena. It's Auburn Arena. Sorry to the Neville family, which probably cut a large check. But I'm going to call it Auburn Arena. Look, Auburn is treading water right now. They're not making the strides you maybe thought they would. Every time they score a nice win, they kind of back it up with a loss. And right now, you're looking at an Auburn team that's lost 5 of 6. They've lost 3 in a row. Now, they were a very tough 3 at Tennessee, lose by 3 points. Go to Texas A&M, lose that one by 5. Come home, play Alabama on Saturday, and you lost that one. You've got some winnable games coming up before you get to the nightmare that is at Kentucky, at Bama, and against Tennessee to close things out. So if Bruce Pearl's team wants to make the NCAA tournament, I would strongly suggest a win tonight against Missouri. This should be lightning fast-paced, very aesthetically pleasing basketball. Should be up and down. I like Auburn laying the 6.5 here. Now, Missouri can run you off the road if they start making threes, and they went nuts against Tennessee making threes. And if they do that against Auburn, I really like their chances. However, I'm going to count on Bruce Pearl's team playing some defense. I'm going to count on Janai Broome being able to hold Kobe Brown down. And I'm going to lay the 6.5 with Auburn. So I am taking both SEC favorites tonight. If you're a fader and you got to find a way to scrape together a couple of nickels after getting hammered the last 2 weeks, be my guest. However, I'm all over the 2 favorites tonight. I got Vanderbilt laying 5 and Auburn laying 6.5 in SEC action tonight. LSU and Georgia are tonight at 7:30 our time on the SEC Network. I previewed that one in segment number 2 here today. If you want to go back and check that out, we'll also talk to Jordan D. Hill coming up in about 20 minutes to talk about the Georgia Bulldogs and some things that are going on the football field with them as well. If you missed any of the show today, catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab. You can always find us on Apple Podcasts. You can always find us on Spotify. And, of course, you can find us on YouTube. Those of y'all hanging out in the Bayou 4 chat, we appreciate it. Throw us a like if you would. I opened the show talking about Grant Taylor being out and what it means to the rest of the LSU pitching staff. Interested in that, you can go back and catch it. As I mentioned, talked about Georgia and their basketball team at 1:15 and Glenn West of Go247. Good enough to join us each and every Tuesday. We talk to him about basketball tonight and, of course, baseball as they kick things off on Friday night. Little SEC hoops picked to finish off the hour. Hour number 2 coming at you here shortly. Jordan D. Hill on the Georgia Bulldogs, Sharif Ishak on the Pels. And after Sports Center, when we come back, we will talk about the Saints quarterback situation. reports surfacing now that Derek Carr is a free agent. What's going to happen there? And the new name that is very popular, tied to the Saints, Baker Mayfield. Taylor Sharp nodding his head. He's excited about the prospects of Baker coming down to New Orleans. Are you, the Saints fan, excited about Baker Mayfield? We'll make that the Citizens Bank poll question of the day. Would Baker Mayfield excite you, yes or no? I'll let you know my feelings on it coming up right after Sports Center. You're listening to the Capital City's leader in sports talk. It's 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls Bands and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting. With a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne, plus two-time PBR world champion Chris Shivers, and Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th, Lamar Dixon Expo Center at 7 p.m. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet, the #1 Chevrolet dealer in Louisiana.
Start your day with news and newsmakers. Start your day with traffic, weather, and local stories that are important to you. Kickstart your day every day. Mornings with Brian Haldane from 6 to 9 a.m. Weekdays on Talk 107.3.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Breaking news, ESPN's Adam Schefter reports the Cardinals have hired former Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon as their new head coach. He inherits an Arizona team set for an overhaul with 31 players expected to become unrestricted free agents. Also leaving Philadelphia, offensive coordinator Shane Steichen, introduced today as the Colts' new head coach. He's got a reputation for getting significant production out of his quarterbacks like Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts, something Indy's been searching for a very long time. Colts are expected to use the fourth overall pick in the upcoming draft on one of the top QBs available, and ESPN's Marcus Spears has a suggestion who Indy should take.
If I'm the Indianapolis coach and I can't get Bryce Young, because I think Bryce Young is the best quarterback in this draft, I think he'll be going off the board first to Houston. Beyond that, I think C.J. Stroud is the guy that I would feel more comfortable with building around. And Shane Steichen, to Mina's point, who tailored his offense to Jalen Hurts, I think he would have a lot to work with C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State.
NHL Alex Ovechkin will be away from the Capitals for family reasons for at least the rest of this week.
We all know the game isn't over till it's over. So next time your car breaks down, don't call it quits. Head to eBay Motors. They have 122 million parts to take your car into overtime. Get the right parts at the right prices. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2 here on a Tuesday. Hope your Valentine's Day is going great. Those of you who are not doing anything for Valentine's Day this evening, or maybe doing something early in the evening and then free to roam the rest of the evening, we're going to hang out at Pluckers and do sports trivia. I got permission to do it. I was like, so you don't want to do anything for Valentine's? Should I go to Pluckers and do trivia? She's like, yeah. So we're going. 8:30, sports trivia tonight. Nicholson location. You can watch the end of the LSU basketball game, have some other hoops on, and we'll be playing some live-action sports trivia. You can win gift cards, have some cold drinks, delicious food. We will be doing sports trivia tonight at 8:30. Hope to see y'all out there. I don't know who Dov Kleiman is. Moscona has a wonderful relationship with the Dov Kleiman Twitter account. He didn't know if it's real or not either, but there's always news popping up on there. I don't really know who Albert Breer is either. I can look at his Twitter bio and tell you that he's a senior NFL reporter, lead content strategist at the Monday Morning Quarterback, alum of the Boston Globe, Dallas Morning News, NFL Network. He's got almost 600,000 Twitter followers, so I feel like somebody reasonable to look to for news. And the report, as of this morning, is that the Saints were potentially in the mix for Baker Mayfield. Derek Carr sweepstakes is opened up to free agency. You're going to be bidding against everybody in that case. And the Saints may look a different direction because if you get in a bidding war over a quarterback and you're already salary cap strapped, that's a tough bidding war to win. Baker Mayfield probably comes a little more inexpensive for good reason. I think Derek Carr's been a little more productive than Baker over the last couple of years. Baker Mayfield's 28 years old. He played for the Rams in Carolina this year, played in 12 games. This is, I could throw stats at you all day. I can tell you in 2020, the COVID year, Baker Mayfield threw for 3,500 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 8 picks. I could tell you that his team was 11-5 that year, and they look to be on the up and up. And then you look back over the last 2 years, and when Baker Mayfield starts, teams are 8-16. Numbers, this and that. You know who Baker Mayfield is. The point of the matter is that the Saints are in jail. They're in jail. They're not in hell. It's like quarterback hell. They're not in hell. Hell, to me, is a hopeless place where there's no escape. You're stuck there forever. Saints aren't stuck without a quarterback forever. They are in jail, and there's nothing they can do. There's nothing the Saints can do, practically, that can solve this problem. And here's the deal. It's like, and I'm using a bad metaphor, so just humor me for a second. It's like the Saints were caught up in the last 5 years of the Breeze era in some significant white-collar crime. Things were going pretty good, and you just kind of turned a blind eye, but you knew this thing, eventually, the clock was going to run out. And it did. Brees retired. And you had done everything you could to amass as much as you possibly could, and Brees was gone. Well, that's, in the metaphor, you've been caught. And now it's time to pay the piper. And it's time now to go to jail. I applaud the Saints front office for knocking on all these doors. Say what you will about Deshaun Watson's personal life, the public thing that has gone on the last couple of years. I don't have a strong opinion on it, and I don't have to. But the Saints front office, which their job is to win football games, checked on it. Good for them. The Saints brought Jameis Winston in when he was cast aside. They got a solid backup quarterback in Andy Dalton. And now they're kicking the tires on David Carr. They're kicking the tires on Baker Mayfield. I applaud them for doing everything they can and exploring every option they possibly can explore. The fact of the matter is, none of these guys are any good. These are bottom half of the league quarterbacks to the ceiling being a middle of the NFL quarterback. And oh, by the way, the roster that's around them has some significant flaws. Interior defensive line, pass rusher, safety, potentially interior offensive line, running back, wide receiver. Need I go on? And so if you're a Saints fan and you want to try to get excited about the potential that Derek, and he still could show up, potential for Derek Carr, potential for Baker Mayfield, and, oh, those guys are better than Andy Dalton. Sure, I mean, that's great, but me looking at this thing from back at 30,000 feet, I'm going, nope. This is jail. There's no easy way out. In my opinion, you're just going to have to wait it out. And that's not fun at all. And I know that nobody really cares about this, but part of the thing that I'm going to do here is draw on personal experience. I knew 2 years ago the Cubs weren't going to be any good for 3 years. And this is after a run from 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 7 years where they were competitive. Absolutely had a chance to win the World Series when they started the season. 7 years straight. And I knew, based on the structure of the organization and what was going to happen with some of the big-name players on that team, that it was going to be a dark, dark time for 2 or 3 years. And they're still right in the middle of it. Cubs aren't winning anything this year. And I know you don't care about that, but I'm just suggesting to you, like, sometimes this happens in your franchise. And the Saints did not have to do it for the entire Brees run. And now they do. And so maybe Baker Mayfield is a win or two better than Andy Dalton. But Baker Mayfield gives you no chance against the teams I just watched play over the last 3 weeks. Over the course of 17 games. On a given day, sure, an NFL team can show up there and play a hell of a ball game. But big picture, no. So, Baker Mayfield had some interception troubles in Cleveland. He threw 21 back in 19. He kind of cleaned those up a little bit over the last couple of years. Wasn't awful. But he was cast aside by the Browns, who had invested a number 1 overall pick in him. And he showed up in Carolina, and they didn't have any use for him. Shipped him to the Rams because they were in crisis mode. And he's kind of a guy without a country at this point. I think Baker Mayfield can do some exciting things. I think he's a fun personality. If I'm going to sit here and talk about the Saints in August and I don't feel like they've got a great chance to go to the playoffs or win a Super Bowl, might as well have an interesting quarterback to chat about. So for my line of work, okay. But as far as winning games, winning divisions, winning playoff games, getting to the Super Bowl, making it happen, you're a couple years away. There's just no way for me to parse through it any other way. It's just a bad spot. You are in jail from a quarterback perspective, and you just got to take what's available. Not a buffet line in prison. Here's what you're eating. Saints just got to wait it out. You've got to wait for some of these contracts to expire. You may have to go through an atrocious season that nets you the 3rd pick in the draft so that then you can make a play for a quarterback. That's the nature of the league. It's just very rare that you can find a great player, great quarterback that's not early in the first round. Back early in the football season, I went through where all the quarterbacks came from. And for the vast majority, outside of Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, most of them were early first-round picks. The Saints just aren't in that position right now. So while names continue to shuffle through, and I applaud the Saints front office for looking and seeing, I just don't know that there's a great solution here coming up. Just doesn't appear that way. This February, 104.5 ESPN and Citizens Bank and Trust are here to offer you a holiday rebate to the tune of $2,000 in cash. We'll also be selecting a local prize winner to receive $1,000 in cash. You can sign up now at 1045ESPN.com. Hope your Tuesday's off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Going to have Sharif Ishak talking about the Pels. Zion update's not very good. We'll talk with him in 25 minutes from right now. When we come back, some news from Georgia on the football side as Todd Monken, their offensive coordinator, has moved on to the Baltimore Ravens, and they immediately made a hire for Mike Bobo. He will be their new offensive coordinator. Plus, LSU's got a basketball game in Athens tonight, so Jordan D. Hill will jump aboard next to talk about all of it. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal. They're elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. And in February, we're telling you about Simone Malaz. Simone is a campaign director for Restore the Mississippi River Delta, a 5-group coalition focused on achieving future Mississippi River Delta that includes a just, climate-resilient coast where people and nature thrive. We know how important our coastline is here in Louisiana. It's critically important. It houses 2.5 million people, supports the infrastructure like highways, ports, pipelines that fuel the country's economy. And Simone Malaz has dedicated her career to protecting Louisiana's coast. She's the executive director of Restore or Retreat, and she is truly a champion of Louisiana. If you know a champion of Louisiana, where it's a person like Simone, a nonprofit or a business that does great work for our great state, let us know about it. I'm telling you. Go to lwcc.com/champions, lwcc.com/champions, and nominate that entity, that nonprofit, that person to be a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is giving us the platform here to tell these great stories like Simone Malaz's, and we are grateful that we get to do it. Simone Malaz, February's Champion of Louisiana, presented by LWCC.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust.
Charles Hannigrove, join us for the Wednesday edition of Hanny Time. Scott Rabelais from The Advocate joins us as we continue our countdown to LSU baseball. In first class, second class, no class. Hanny Time, noon weekdays, 104.5, ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Let's head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotlines where we'll find Jordan D. Hill, covers the Georgia Bulldogs for Dogs 247. Jordan, thanks for the time. How are you?
Hey, doing great. And, thought it might be kind of a low-key Valentine's Day, and then all of a sudden we got Georgia football news, and kind of never stopped.
No, it never does. That's just kind of the way things work. I wanted to get you on to talk some basketball, which we will. Tigers and Dogs tonight, 7:30 Central Time over at Stegman. But news broke this morning that Georgia was without an offensive coordinator for by my math, about 25 seconds. Todd Monken takes the job with the Baltimore Ravens, and immediately it is announced that Georgia will hire Mike Bobo as their new offensive coordinator. So any surprise that Todd Monken had that opportunity and decided to go to the NFL?
Not really. There had been talk throughout this offseason that Todd was looking at some NFL opportunities. The first job that popped up was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, being the offensive coordinator there. He had history with the franchise. He was the offensive coordinator when Dirk Cutter was the head coach. That job just never really made sense looking from the outside looking in, just given Tom Brady retiring, giving the questions around that entire offense, and really Todd Bowles kind of being on the hot seat going into 2023. Never really considered that to be an option, but when you started to hear smoke around Baltimore for him to get a chance to go coach with a proven head coach in John Harbaugh, a situation that looks really good as long as they get the Lamar Jackson situation figured out, should have a franchise quarterback for years to come, a really good offense around him. You thought there was a real chance that would happen. We've heard a lot of talk about the fact that, the grind that college football is right now, the recruiting, the way there's almost no time off, that Todd was really looking at a chance to go to the NFL and just, get a chance to prove himself coaching on Sundays, and also to sort of get away from that college grind, which I think is driving more and more coaches to the NFL. Once you kind of saw that job pop up, I thought there was a real understanding that he could very well take that job, and then on Tuesday he did that.
How much credit does Todd Monken get for the transformation of Georgia from the team in the Jake Fromm era that maybe wasn't up to the standard of some of the elite offenses in college football to the team that's rattled off 1 million wins in a row and 2 national championships?
I really think Todd deserves the kind of credit that Lane Kiffin has gotten at Alabama for the way they really revolutionized how Alabama played offense. I think it's very comparable what Todd did in Athens. I think that Kirby Smart understood that they needed to change things up. Things just didn't work. Things were pretty good under Jim Chaney. When they promoted James Coley to replace Jim, it just wasn't quite as successful. And I think that Kirby understood that they needed to change the way they went about things. And I think Todd did an excellent job. They were really good in 2020. Consider that was Todd's first year, and it was COVID, and there were a lot more limited interactions you could have with players compared to a normal season. But they were still really successful. And then obviously the last 2 years win the national championship, have a lot of success with a former walk-on quarterback leading the way. I think Todd, really deserves a lot of success. There's been, some fans upset, but I think it's more of an understanding of hey, he did a lot for this program. We just hate to see him leave. But I think there's a lot of people that are going to be rooting for him with the Ravens going into 2023.
Let's talk about the hire of Mike Bobo. Obviously, that's a guy that Kirby has some history with. He's very familiar with Athens, and it was quick.
Yeah, he was a guy that he came on as an offensive analyst, has experience in this role, was the offensive coordinator under Mark Richt for 8 seasons, have been on staff for 6 years before that as a quarterback's coach. A lot of experience, played at Georgia. I think that it was always understood if Todd left for the NFL that one of the first people they would look at is Mike. And I think it speaks really highly of Mike and Kirby's confidence in him that there really wasn't a search. I mean, like you had mentioned from the top, I mean, it was about probably 9 or 10 minutes, it felt like, before it became really clear, look, there's not going to be a search. They have their guy. Fans are really lukewarm on this. He took a lot of criticism the first go around when he was the offensive coordinator at Georgia. I think a lot of it was unfair. I think it was some of the criticism wasn't warranted, and I do think he got better as it went along as far as Georgia being Georgia's offensive coordinator. I think with the talent Georgia has right now, and I think, too, with the talent they have on the other side of the football, this is not some of the Georgia defenses of the early 2010s. This is a high-caliber defense that's not going to put the pressure on its offense to have to score 35, 40 points a game. I think that's going to help a whole lot with Mike. I think Mike is honestly a better recruiter than Todd was, and I think that's going to help. But I think Mike's stepping into a really good situation, and for any fans out there that are worried, I think that they kind of need to trust what Kirby Smart has continued to do and that he's proven that he's going to do what he thinks best for the program moving forward.
Who's going to be the quarterback?
I think it's going to be Carson Beck, but, to be honest, I think that this does kind of even the playing field. I was really of the belief that it was going to be a 3-man race going into this spring, and now you've got a new offensive coordinator stepping in, so maybe he sees things a little bit different. I will say that, Gunnar Stockton is a guy that Mike Bobo has been close to for a long time. That he was a guy that Mike recruited when he was at South Carolina. He tried to recruit to come to Auburn when he was the offensive coordinator there back in 2021. I think that Gunnar has a lot of what Mike likes in a quarterback, but I think at the end of the day, it's really a 3-man race still with Carson, Gunnar, and Brock Vandegrift. I still think it's going to be Carson Beck, but I do think that this sort of reshuffles things a little bit and definitely leaves some questions going into the spring.
He's Jordan D. Hill, covers Georgia for Dogs 247. Let's transition to basketball, Jordan, if we could. Georgia 15-10 on the year, 5-7 in league play. The Tom Crean era just never kind of got off the ground there, and now you look at Mike White in his first year. What's kind of been the returns on that?
I think it's been very positive. They were coming in, they were taking over a team that went 6-22 last year, a team that only won one SEC game. And, it was sort of a situation where they got fans, expectations up a little bit early in SEC play. They beat Auburn. They beat Ole Miss. They beat Mississippi State. They do lose to Florida. And I think people kind of, the cart kind of got put before the horse. And people are like, oh, man, this could be an NCAA tournament team. Kind of fell back to earth a little bit with some of the losses they've had. Lost to Vanderbilt at home. Really tough losses to Kentucky and Tennessee. But they got a huge boost this past weekend. Kentucky came back to town. Georgia wins that game. I think on the whole, it's been a successful first season. I think for the most part, people have had reasonable expectations where this program was. They did a pretty good job of reloading this roster in the off season. I'm very fascinated to see what they do after this season as far as what they go after. But Georgia is still in the contention for probably like the NIT postseason tournament, but probably not going to be the NCAA tournament. But given what they walked into and where this program was this time last year, I think a lot of credit is due to Mike White and his staff and also the players for the work they put in this year.
Terry Roberts, transfer from Bradley, has been the leading scorer all year for Georgia. Concussion issues, came off the bench over the weekend. What can you tell us about his availability and kind of health level?
Yeah, I expect him to be back. I think he'll be playing, and we'll see again if he comes off the bench or if he just starts tonight. He did play a good bit in that win over Kentucky. I believe he wound up with 23 minutes. And Mike White talked after the game and said he was really pleased with what he saw. And a big part of that win against Kentucky was that they got good guard play all the way around. Terry played really well. Kerry Oquendo played well. I think he might have ended up with 21 points in that win. Justin Hill, who stepped in and started in place of Terry Roberts, I thought he played really well. Their guards were attacking against Kentucky. I don't think they came in with a mindset of, well, we're going to let them dictate how we play. I mean, Georgia pretty much came out and punched Kentucky in the mouth, and I thought you saw renewed energy. And I think that if you're a Georgia basketball fan, whether they make the tournament or not, I think that was a good sign just for a team that going into Saturday had lost 6 of 7. That they're still fighting and that they're willing to go out there and battle against whoever.
What kind of crowd do you expect tonight? Midweek game against the team that's in last place in the league.
Well, I think we're going to learn a lot about this team, and Mike White talked about it after the Kentucky win that, this is a team, as far as Georgia goes, where they can't be worried about the record of their opponent. They can't be worried about the name on the front of their opponent's jersey. They just got to show up and fight. And I think that they kind of lacked that last week when they played Ole Miss. It's sort of a similar situation with LSU. Ole Miss came into that game with only one SEC win, and Georgia just got outplayed. And to have that happen on their home court, that was a real setback, and I thought it was a game really they couldn't afford to lose. Now, credit, they bounced back and played well against Kentucky. So I think it's a game where they just can't find themselves sleepwalking or trying to take things easy. It's about to get really rough playing at Alabama on Saturday and at Arkansas next week. So Georgia definitely needs to take advantage of this game and play like they have the last couple games in an attempt to string a little winning streak together.
Jordan, we appreciate the time, man. Thanks.
Absolutely.
He's Jordan D. Hill, Dogs 247 beat writer covering Georgia. I think that's interesting in Athens from a football perspective. I know y'all are not just dying for more breakdown of LSU and Georgia basketball. From a football perspective, a three-man quarterback competition, new offensive coordinator. I have no reason to believe that Georgia will fall on their face offensively next year, but Bobo's had his what's a nice way to say that? I don't even know. Georgia fans don't love Mike Bobo calling plays. They did not like it in the Richt era, and we'll see. As Jordan said, it's been a very lukewarm reception. But when you put that much talent on the field and you're at that much an advantage over 9 of the 10 teams you play in reasonable games, it makes things a little easier to call plays and to play. So we'll see. Appreciate Jordan D. Hill for jumping on and talking to LSU and Georgia. Tigers and Dogs tonight, 7:30 Central tip-off over at Stegman if you want to listen to it. 7 o'clock pregame show over on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. That'll be John Brady and the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. We'll come back, talk some Pels with Sharif Ishak next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls Bands and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting. With a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne, plus 2-time PBR world champion Chris Shivers, and Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th, Lamar Dixon Expo Center at 7 p.m. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet, the #1 Chevrolet dealer in Louisiana.
Hey, it's Matt Musso. Join me Monday through Friday for your daily update on LSU baseball with Musso at the Box, presented by New Orleans Flooring. Wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, and check out New Orleans Flooring. 2 locations, Metairie and Prairieville, or NOLAFlooring.com.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play. with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR. LSU pitcher Grant Taylor out for the season. How do they compensate? We'll preview LSU, Georgia, and hoops and recap Pell's Thunder. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Let's head on out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sharif Ishak down in New Orleans for WDSU covering Saints and the Pels. Sharif, how are you, sir?
I'm good. The Pelicans are back. 4-5, baby.
I want to talk about Baker Mayfield.
I don't want to talk about Baker Mayfield.
Well, let's talk about
Sky's
Baker Mayfield.
falling. Okay, go.
What do you make of the rumors that may be an option?
I mean, look, things are bad if you're going to have to consider Baker Mayfield. Look, I mean, it failed at the last two stops with the Rams and the Panthers. He is so up and down with the Browns. I just don't know how that fit is going to. I don't know how he's going to fit here. I really don't, man. And what are you signaling to your current players if Baker Mayfield is the best you can get? Is he an upgrade from Andy Dalton? I don't know, man. I just don't think he is. And I don't know. Look, I'd much rather draft a rookie quarterback at this point if it's going to get down to option C and D and just go with it and let Hendon Hooker cook if he's ready to go by training camp. I just don't buy into the Baker Mayfield. I mean, if you go out there and court and have Derek Carr in for 2 days and his former coach who drafted him, did everything you possibly could, and he goes and signs with a division rival with someone else. How does that make the Saints look in the front office look? That's not going to be a good look. That's going to be an ugly look for Mickey Loomis and the front office if Derek Carr doesn't sign with the team after, courting him for 2 days.
What do you think's going to happen?
I really didn't think that they were going to trade for him. I really think that Derek Carr wanted to stick it to the Raiders. And he was like, why am I going to help them out, give them a pick? I think the Saints are going to be in the front, one of the front-running teams. But what if, the Jets throw a ton of money at him? Or if the Bucs say, hey, our offense is way better and ready to go, and you can count on our receivers? So, man, look, I think the Saints are in the mix, and I think Dennis is going to do whatever he can. I just don't know at this point. I really thought, like, we would get a definitive answer, and there's no definitive answer, and that should be, 2 years in a row. If they miss on the quarterback, it'd be Deshaun Watson and Derek Carr, and then I'm just going to be scratching my head. I'll say Derek Carr comes to the Saints, if that makes anyone feel better, if they like him.
Just trying to make people feel better. That's very nice of you here, Sharif. Let's go over to the Pels. You say they're back? They're back?
They're somewhat back. At least Brandon Ingram is back. He's been on fire the last 5 games. He was awesome last night against the Thunder. I think it's 14 of 24. I mean, his mid-range game has just gotten better and better in this last week or so. And, this is exactly what we wanted to see from Ingram when he came back and knocked off the rust. Give me the ball at the end of the game and let me make the shots. And that one shot at the end of the game as the shot clock was expiring was just beautiful. I mean, I was like, no way that goes in, and just that thing just went on net. But outside of that, man, I enjoyed watching Josh Richardson last night. I mean, he is already an improved person off the bench compared to Devontae Graham. Ties a career high with 5 steals, gets to 10 points. Did a little bit of everything. I thought he was more of the MVP, and I understand Ingram threw 34 points in, but I just like what he did all around for the team. He was the reason why the Pelicans didn't completely lose that lead to end the third quarter and start the fourth quarter. He had a bucket, steal, bucket. I mean, without Josh Richardson, I don't think they win that game.
Well, you were a little frustrated they coughed the 20-point lead up. Why did the lead go? Why did the lead vanish?
Offense went stale. That half-court offense is just awful sometimes. It is just awful. And there's certain rotations that Willie Green uses. It's like, man, you got 3 defensive guys out there that just cannot do anything for you. And he's just got to figure out this rotation. Look, I get the whole Zion thing, and DJ was out last night, but if you're cooking with a certain rotation, you keep cooking with it until it's not cooking anymore. And that's a big reason why that lead evaporated. And everyone's like, well, they got SGA, and they have Isaiah Joe who can shoot threes. But, yeah, great. You were doing great on the inside. You were attacking them inside at the rim with JV, and he didn't get many touches, and y'all were up by 20 points. If you continued to go to him, your lead would have stayed in double digits. But that's been the problem all year, huh? It's them being able to stay afloat with a double-digit lead. They have blown so many double-digit leads and lost this season. It's amazing. And that shouldn't happen with or without Zion. I've said that a few times. It's just Willie Green has to find a way to figure out the rotations the right way to avoid having such letdowns like that. Because if they would have blown that 20-point lead and lost, I don't even know what would happen tomorrow night against the Lakers.
Concerned about CJ's hand?
It's not his hand. It's actually a sprained ankle that kept him out of the game.
Thumb. I missed that?
No, he had a sprained ankle. He does have a taped thumb. Yeah, he's playing with a banged up thumb.
Okay.
He plays through it. I do appreciate him playing through a banged up thumb and, it's a sprained ankle. Suffered against the Cleveland Cavaliers in that bad loss. But, no, I'm not concerned. He's fine. I mean, if he doesn't play Wednesday, at least you give him a week and a half, almost 2 weeks off.
Will Zion play again in the regular season?
Yes. I think it will be in the final 2 or 3 weeks of the regular season, though. It's going to be a little while.
Is that enough time?
Yeah, it's enough time. I mean, if the other guy, look, he's not one of those guys that needs, 2 weeks to get ready, 2 weeks to play in real game action to be ready. I think he's fine. Once you throw him out there, I think he'll be ready to go because they'll give him his ramp-up period the right way. Well, hamstrings are tricky injuries. I mean, everyone keeps saying it. Look at Devin Booker. He came back, played against the Pels, and then he was never the same for a while, and then he's finally back and feeling good again. So, it's a tricky situation, especially for an explosive player like him who plays the way he plays at the rim.
Do you feel like the organization's frustrated that they can't get him on the floor for a month at a time?
That's why everyone's like, why didn't they make a big trade, big splash? And I said, and I think a lot of people said, because they have Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson, just need them to stay healthy if they stay healthy. I don't know how many times I'm going to come on the show and say if they stay healthy. And everyone's frustrated. That's just, what they've dealt with. He's missed a lot of games. There's 169 games so far. That's a lot of games to miss in your career.
It sure is. And it's just frustrating to have what you believe to be the nucleus of a really strong core the rest of the next few years. But if they're never out there, I don't know how much you can count on it. But it appears that we'll have to wait a little bit more for Zion. Thoughts on the Lakers game?
I hope they're motivated, man. The Lakers just seem like an absolute mess. I mean, you see last night they get cooked up by the Blazers, and everyone feels like it's Darvin Ham's fault. Nobody else's fault on the court. You can never blame the players. for like not playing any defense, just lagging on Dame Lillard. I think they're in a bad spot. You know, I just think that their record, they are what their record says they are. They're just not a good team. They're just a bunch of pieces that don't work well together. That's why a lot of the other teams, like the Pelicans and teams above them, just work well together because they're a team. They're just a bunch of pieces. So I do feel good. I feel good about the Pelicans' chances tomorrow night. I do think Brandon Ingram will just keep cooking, and some of the other guys will just have to contribute. The guy's just going to have to keep doing what he's doing.
You got Mardi Gras weekend plans? Or you working?
No, I'm first time in 10 years. I'm actually off on Saturday and Sunday.
Hey.
So, yeah. Don't worry, man. Don't worry. I'll be watching the series this weekend. The pregame series. We're going to Omaha. That's it. This is the year.
I would very much like to go to Omaha this summer. That would make me very, very happy. But we'll see. Got to start things off on Friday. Sharif, we'll talk again next week. Thanks, man.
I'm sure we'll be talking about the Saints signing Derek Carr.
He just became a free agent like 5 minutes ago. So here we go as the world turns. Thanks, Sharif.
Anytime.
That is Sharif Ishak, WDSU. As I just mentioned, Shefty just reported that the Raiders have informed Derek Carr that he's been released, saves them $14 million, and Derek Carr is free to go wherever he may. And that will be the two teams listed in Schefter's tweet are the Panthers and the Saints. And as Sharif mentioned there, like, do you want to – it's kind of like college football recruiting. You want to court a guy for 2 days, have him stick around, dinner, touring the facilities, talking to everybody, and then all of a sudden he jumps ship and goes to somebody in your division whose pitch was better than yours. That's a tough look. But in this world, you're hamstrung by dollars and cents, and the Saints' salary cap situation is not very good. So they're going to have to get creative if Derek Carr is going to show up. But it remains to be seen. We'll see what Derek Carr's decision is. But he is officially on the market as a free agent. We will take one more time out. We will come back and wrap up a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Saturday, February 25th, 7 p.m. The Bulls, Bands, and Barrels Tour at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet. Edge of your seat excitement with bull riding, barrel racing, ultimate bullfighting. With a live performance by Bailey Zimmerman. With Timothy Wayne, plus two-time PBR world champion Chris Shivers, and Brinson James, the entertainer. Tickets and information at bullsbandsandbarrels.com. Saturday, February 25th, Lamar Dixon Expo Center at 7 p.m. Presented by Jerry Lane Chevrolet, the #1 Chevrolet dealer in Louisiana.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Women who suffer from cardiac arrest outside of a hospital are less likely than men to receive life-saving CPR from bystanders. Be the beat for your community. Go to heart.org to take the CPR challenge and save lives.
Hey, it's Matt Musso. Join me Monday through Friday for your daily update on LSU baseball with Musso at the Box, presented by New Orleans Flooring, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, and check out New Orleans Flooring. 2 locations, Metairie and Prairieville, or NOLAFlooring.com.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walk.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Moon Griffon is back. The voice of Louisiana politics makes his return to Baton Rouge. Catch the Moon Griffon Show weekdays from 9 to 11 a.m. on Talk 107.3.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere,
Jimmy out and Mike Delicano for the Tuesday evening edition of Game Time, presented by Bet Rivers. We're at Mike Anderson's on Lee, just off of Nicholson. That's Game Time, presented by Bet Rivers, 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Excited for tomorrow's show. Gonna have another What If Wednesday. Toss some things around there. Certainly get you caught up on LSU and Georgia from tonight. And Kristen Mui, former Tiger left-hander, who is locked in on this LSU baseball team, has a podcast called 60 Feet 6 Inches LSU Podcast. Been out there at a lot of scrimmages, previewing other conferences. We're gonna have Chris on every single Wednesday at 2:30 during baseball season. So very much looking forward to that conversation. We'll have a lot of LSU talk over the next few days, as first pitch is just 3 days away, which is very, very exciting. All right, Taylor Sharp, take it or leave it.
All right, starting out with one that is near and dear to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
The annual PECOTA projections are out for the Major League Baseball season.
Yep.
The Cubs, get this one, Hunt, they're projected a whopping 77 wins. 77 wins, take it or leave it.
That would be 77 and 85. 77 and 85.
A hunch tells me that's not good enough for a wild card
That's
spot.
not going to get you there, and that's not very good. But it's not surprising because, as I talked about at the beginning of this hour, when we're talking about the Saints, the Cubs are in the middle of a total overhaul. Now, they've just started spending money and recouping the shelves and all that kind of stuff, but you had to sit through 3 really lean years, and that's what we've done, and it appears that there's probably another one on the horizon. But the term pitchers and catchers report is basically toast now. That used to be pitchers and catchers got to spring training early. They're supposed to be there today or tomorrow. These guys are there first of the year now. I mean, the Cubs signed Cody Bellinger, and he went straight to Arizona and just has been there. It's so the guys are like very much more committed than they were, I think, back in the day when pitchers and catchers report was a thing, where they used to use the entirety of spring training to like get ready to play. Now they're all ready to play. They're there just working on their game, which makes me very excited. However, 77 wins, not very exciting.
Full Swing Episode 1, take it or leave it.
You know, I watched this last night. For those that are not familiar with Full Swing, it is the Netflix documentary on the PGA Tour. I'm going to leave it. The first episode was not for me. I think based on, there are some people in the media that have seen 2 or 3 episodes, and apparently it gets a lot better for the avid golf watcher. But the first episode, which I could watch yesterday on MichelobUltra.com, literally, they had a thing that you had to go through Michelob Ultra's website to watch the first episode, and I did last night. And it is very much geared to the non-golf fan. Like, apparently everyone fell in love with F1 because of Full Drive or Ultimate Drive or whatever that Drive to Survive, that whatever that one was. And you have to like kind of explain all the rules to F1. Like, it literally starts with like a birdie is 1 stroke under par. A par is the expected score on a hole. There are 72 holes in a tournament, and there's a cut after Friday. Like, all this stuff that I very much know. And they made the episode about Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas and their friendship and, you know, how they compete against each other in these tournaments. And they didn't tell me anything I didn't already know. The only thing I gleaned from the episode was Justin Thomas's allergies were really bad during the PGA Championship, and he had to go to Walgreens before his 3rd round. But I didn't get much behind the scenes stuff that I thought I was going to get. It was basically like, oh, here's Jordan and Justin, and they're best buds, and they try to beat each other every Saturday and Sunday. So it wasn't great for me last night watching that first episode. I'll leave it to those who want to go check it out. I will certainly watch all 8 episodes of this, and no questions asked. 100% going to do it. And apparently it gets a lot better. A lot of the next episodes apparently on Brooks Koepka and his decision to go to LIV. That's fascinating to me. So maybe it gets a lot better, which I've been told it probably does. But episode 1, for me, the avid golf watcher, not very good.
You're going to love this one.
Mm-hmm.
Maryland is hiring Kevin Sumlin, heard of him, as its tight ends coach. Take it or leave it.
Okay, tight ends coach. I thought we were going to be calling plays or something. Man, was there anybody that was cooking and was hotter than Kevin Sumlin circa 2012?
No, I remember the media every offseason was like, this is the offseason that he takes the USC job.
Yeah, or the NFL wants him. Because, and I will say, when I went to College Station in September of 2012 for that A&M game, we didn't really know much about Manziel at that point, and that tempo that they were playing with was jarring to watch in person. Now, that LSU defense had Benny Logan and Kiki Mingo and Sam Montgomery and Kevin Minner and Eric Reed and Thorold Simon, and it was a ridiculously loaded defense, and they were able to hold up, and LSU was able to win the game. But that style and that system with that quarterback was phenomenal. And then Manziel moves on after the 13 season, and then the opener of the 14 season, they got Kenny Hill out there at South Carolina, and he throws for 1,000,000 yards,
Kenny
and they score
Trill.
1,000,000 points. Exactly. And you're like, oh my God, he's going to be able to do this whoever shows up. And there was a part of me that was very, very terrified of what Kevin Sumlin could produce. However, what he couldn't do was produce any defense whatsoever. And then he hired John Chavis, who did a horrendous job as a defensive coordinator. And I thoroughly enjoyed LSU running for 4 million yards in the games that LSU played Texas A&M, and John Chavis was the defensive coordinator. Because as I have stated many times over my young radio career, I'm less concerned with actual people's lives and more concerned with the sports and how it affects LSU, which is a warped way of looking at things. But we're just talking about sports. I want to talk about sports, and John Chavis left my alma mater for an arch rival. I don't care what the reasons were. I don't like that. So I'm glad they ran the score up on John Chavis 1,000,000 times when he went to A&M and then to Arkansas as well. I think John Chavis is a pretty nice guy.
Someone still has more wins than Jimbo at this point, so he's got that going for him. All right, last one here. Luka and Kyrie, who didn't know this wasn't going to work, looked a little confused on the final possession last night. It actually resulted in a turnover for their second straight loss. Luka and Kyrie don't pair well. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to take this.
I'll take it.
If you didn't see the end of the game last night, the Mavs had the ball with a chance to tie or win. And Luka's got it, and then he and Kyrie are like 10 feet apart at the top of the key. And he passes it to Kyrie, who dribbles and pump fakes, and then passes it back to Luka, and then the ball comes back to Kyrie, and then he tries to dribble and make another pass at the turnover. In that situation, in the NBA, I think more often than not, the best player, the alpha male, the guy, just takes the ball and goes. And both of them looked like they were trying to make sure the other guy was involved. And maybe that's just part of the learning curve of figuring it out, and maybe it's just two guys that are better with the ball in their hands, and they need to just take it and go. But either way, it didn't look too awesome last night. So
This was my fault a little bit. I think I worded this poorly. I said Luka and Kyrie don't pair well together. Kyrie doesn't pair well with anyone.
That's
take it
correct.
or leave it.
I would take that. Kyrie doesn't get along with really anyone. Everyone's disrespectful, and everyone's not appreciative, and they don't treat him very well, and everyone's out to get Kyrie, and it's the same thing everywhere. It's the same thing every single time. If it happens once, you kind of look the other way. If it happens 3 times,
it's probably you.
It's going to keep happening, and that's the case probably in Dallas. I know they had to try to go make a move because they got to keep Luka around, and they got to help him, and Kyrie got them back in the game when Luka was sitting on the bench. But then it comes down to crunch time, and they don't know what the heck's going on. So that'll do it here for a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Missed any of the show, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Appreciate you all in the Bayou Ford chat. Throw us a like if you would. Talked about Grant Taylor at the top of the show and what his injury and loss for the season means to this LSU pitching staff. Gave you maybe a surprise name that may get a start this weekend in Riley Cooper. I don't have any inside information there. It just kind of feels like it may be trending that way. There's a little buzz headed in that direction. I gave you kind of my thoughts on that at the top of the show. Previewed Georgia's basketball team. Then Glenn West came on at 1:30 talking basketball and baseball. Some SEC gambling picks for Hoop tonight at the end of hour number 1. Saints, does Baker Mayfield make sense? We talked about that at the top of hour number 2. Jordan D. Hill and the Georgia offensive coordinator situation and the Bulldog basketball squad. And then Sharif Ishak from WDSU. Everybody has a great Valentine's. You got nothing going on. Coming out to Pluckers, 8:30 Sports Trivia. We will be there, as we are every Tuesday, watching LSU basketball, playing sports trivia. Going to be a good time, so come on out and hang with us. Going to be fun on a Tuesday night at Pluckers. Jimmy Ott's Game Time, 6 to 8 this evening. Matt Moscona is about to drive you home on After Further Review. See you tomorrow, same time, same place. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.